Well met, greetings travellers, and welcome back to the Hearthstone Grand Prix here at DreamHack Valencia. Huge apologies for that extended break that we did have. Apparently one of our switchers for the Ethernet went down for an entire row of games, which delayed everything by quite some time. Technology is a cruel mistress sometimes, but we are back up and running and ready to kick off some round number 8 action. And this is an incredible series that we have lined up. It's 7, isn't it? Is it 7?
No,
it's 8. All right, okay, rewind. So we have an incredible series lined up for Liveon versus Tyler, who is going to be the featured match. And we have Modern Leper versus Nyria, which we'll get into later. The big story for all 4 of these players is that they're sitting at 5 and 2. So this is an elimination matchup for each and every one of these players at this point.
Well, it's high risk, high reward, right?
Yeah, definitely the position you don't mind being in, even though it looks like I've got to win 3 more. At the start of the tournament, only losing 2 after 7 rounds. Still pretty good going.
Well, when you think about it, like 5-3 is not an impressive result at all, right? So it's not a big thing that you don't advance like in the tournament with that score, right? It's obvious that you need to be better than just having 3 losses, and that's the reward we live in Swiss tournaments.
Yep, so mainstream is going to be Liveon versus Tyler opening up. Tyler is probably a player that many of you are familiar with going into this. He's a very, very popular streamer, and the definition of the grinder, the ladder god, the phrase that we come out with far too often behind these desks to describe players that don't have big tournament finishes. Tyler pretty much puts all that to bed because he is the quintessential ladder god.
Well, I can tell you that he puts how many hours does he put each month, and that is on stream only above 200 per month.
Yes,
and it was actually like 280 in the biggest month for him. So when you think about it, it's actually 12, 13 hours of Hearthstone per day on a month.
Yes,
insane.
280. So they used to do top 10 lists for Hearthstone streamers. And the crazy French channel was always #1 with like 200 and something.
But that's being, made by 6 people.
Yeah, it's a communal channel where they rotate a different guy every day.
And to get in the top 10, you needed like 97 or 101. Right. I was, anyone who streamed regularly was like, oh, I could get in that top 10. Then you try and find the extra 10 hours, and actually, no, you can't. But it was like 100 to get in the top 10. He's doing 280 is insane.
And the greatest ladder achievement that we have ever seen was Zixo holding down Rank 1 Legend on all 3 servers at the time, Asia Pacific, Europe, and North America, at the same time with Sea Giant Zoo, I believe it was back then. Tyler almost emulated that. He was hours apart. He got 2 Rank 1 Legends held down, and then within the same day picked up the 3rd Rank 1 Legend, but had already lost it on one of the other servers beforehand. So
unlucky.
He very nearly emulated an achievement that many people thought would never be repeated, especially because now the ladder metagame is much more competitive than it was back when Zixo did it, because everyone is grinding for those HCT points.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
There's a lot on the line for him here as well, because he has slipped behind. He didn't get the top 100 he needed last month. And the players involved have told me that Tyler is 16 points behind Sintalol. There's 15 points for winning this.
16 is a big gap, but yeah, 15 will close that quite nicely.
So if he wins this tournament, it shows that he's not just a grinder, and he can do it in the opens as well, and he needs 3 wins to even reach the top 16. Those are valuable points right now.
And it's a big deal if he gets the 1st place in the entire ranking, right? Because it grants what?
It's just a free entry into HCT finals, basically, the World Championships.
Free ride to the World Championship, but we will get into Liveon in a little bit. But before we do that, I believe we can take a look at some updated standings, get a grasp on the bigger picture of what is going on in this tournament. Diggen, we saw go to 7 and 0 in the previous round. Turner as well. And then Daniel Legend, a name that we saw featured on stream on day 1. He has kept on trucking, picked up 6-1. Ben, that XL3EN name that you are looking at and have no idea how to pronounce.
So it's a Big Ben.
Trust me, it's Ben, exactly. Big Ben.
Literally Big Ben.
Extra large Ben.
Except he didn't do that on purpose. We pronounced it excellent before because he used to have a C on the end.
Correct.
Pronounced it all sorts of things, but it's meant to just be a lowercase L, a 3 for making a B with an X at the start because he's an idiot, and it just says Ben.
Wow, fired.
Lorinda, would you like to pronounce those 2 names on the bottom left for me?
Indeed, I would not.
Okay, wonderful. Any other names standing out here?
Crucedos
and
Agazapazado.
Beautiful. This is why we have a European on the decks. A genuine
an actual
European.
not an ex-European.
Not a Brexited.
Yeah, not a Brexited European. Guys, apart from those top 3, top 4 names that I pointed out, anything else in here standing out to you?
PNC was 0-1, and he's come all the way from Argentina, suddenly appearing on the board at 6-1. That's a good fight back, and he was thinking of going to the beach at one point yesterday, but he's got it sorted.
Well, DreamHack as well is kind of a Swiss King from my perspective. There is actually a player called Swiss King, so we probably shouldn't use that phrase. DreamHack is a Swiss god because at one point, I believe, from your hashtag Lorinda stats, DreamHack was the leading light in HCT Swiss.
Yeah, they were double limbs, but same sort. Okay, very similar, though, so, very similar.
Yeah, sure. So now picking up a good performance in the Swiss tournament as well. No mean feat for DreamHack, but still, we have another match to focus back in on. We talked a lot about Tyler going into that, but Liveon is a player who we saw on stream earlier on day 1, and the one thing that I really took to heart from watching him play is that he did look a little bit anxious on stream. That's not to say he played badly. I think the lines that he took were perfectly reasonable. He just looked uncomfortable. He looked indecisive at times.
Well, we kind of tend to forget that not many people were actually featured on stream like during their career, right? We had a lot of tournaments, but at the same time, even when you play in a Swiss tournament like here, there's a small chance you will appear on the stream unless you're like going 6-0, 7-0, 8-0 and so on. So not many people have the experience to be exposed on camera in front of like thousands of people, and that can get into your head, right? So even...
Yeah, I checked with him afterwards as well because I thought he might be nervous because whilst some of the players on stream who haven't seen me before got nothing to lose, that was how Raven went. Liveon, I was like, because he's got everything to gain. He's a player, he's been around and he's known to be a good player, just got a chance to prove it now.
Yep, so we are just about ready to get into this series. I believe we can take a look at the picks and bans before we do so, find out what these players' strategies are when it comes down to the lineups, because of course we've seen various crucial strategies coming out from these players so far. It's a Shaman ban and a Mage ban. Tyler is going to lose his Mage here. Mage ban has been a little bit uncommon from what we've seen so far. Lothar, what does that tell you about Liveon's strategy here?
That means that his Druid is an aggro Druid, most likely, and not a Jade Druid. I mean, I would read into that, right? Because if you play a Jade Druid, most likely you're okay with every single Mage matchup that you can encounter. So why would you ban it unless your other 2 decks are super weak to like a Freeze Mage or a Gunter Mage, right? That's what does it tell me. When I see a Shaman, I always assume it's Evolved Shaman. I don't see like any other Shaman being even close to the win rates that it can have in any lineup. So that's a given for both of the players. I mean, unless your Eco was playing Volcanoes and stuff like that, but it didn't turn quite well for him, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
I don't know if we've seen anybody leave up Shaman and Druid. Have we seen a single match where they've left up both?
It's a very good question.
I can't get it off the top of my head, but...
If anyone should know that, Neil, it's you. I don't know why you're asking us when you're the king of stats, but the king of stats and Lothar are going to be standing by to talk you through this one. I will leave them to it. So, guys, the series is going to start right after this.
Settle up, we're gonna go into the game.
Looking forward to this one. Again, 2 players that I personally like both of these guys for different reasons. I bumped into Liveon in various places around the world at random times, and Tyler's just a stalwart. I love his stream. So for me personally, I feel like I get on okay with these 2 guys. So I don't want either of them to lose. So I'm not going to be biased. I'm just going to cry when one loses.
Well, you know, you can be. It's a game as any sport, right? When you cheer for someone, you can't be completely unbiased, so it's perfectly normal. Tyler has a lot of fans, of course, because he's a really known streamer nowadays. And that's actually also something that many people just don't understand till now. Even like hard work actually puts you there on the map.
Yeah, and I would love to see him get those points to catch up with Scintillon. Make it. I don't mind which one of those 2 guys wins that. They're both fun guys to have on the circuit, but I want it to be close and make them sweat to the end, because that's how it works.
The race would be actually amazing to see, like till the end of like the last season, right? But first matchup, it actually, oh, look at that. Liveon actually plays Jade Druid.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough one to queue up first. Maybe he's going out there first for the reasons you gave a minute ago. He's not particularly good against this matchup, so get this out of the way and then try and get into those counter games.
Yeah, but I'm just like a little bit surprised because I just spoke about the fact that he most likely plays aggro druid because he banned the mage. So maybe he was anticipating the Jade Druid ban on himself, and that's why he banned the mage, because he was thinking, I'm not able to play the druid at all. So it turns out it was a mind game from Tyler, and he actually banned something else. Pretty cool, if you ask me.
Yeah, I love that about Last Hero Standing in particular. Usually in Conquest, you can work out the best ban for both of you. There's not much you can do about it. In Last Hero, you can play those mind games, and looks like advantage Tyler at this point. So the Jade Druid here does need that early ramp, and it's got some, but it's going to need to be able to clear this up pretty quickly. And I mean, that's obvious, right? You've got to get rid of this board, but he's going to be low on resources by the time he's got rid of it. Not even finding time to play that Jade Blossom.
Yeah, that's true. Although I like the addition of Thalnos and Jade Druids, it helps a lot. It makes a swipe a powerhouse when it comes to helping against aggro decks, so it's something that I really like to see in some decks. But Tyler has an onslaught of Murlocs. It will be really tough for Liveon to manage to kill them unless he has multiple swipes, multiple refs. He had, of course, used one ref already, has this weapon in his hand, which will be helpful, but still doesn't really deal with all those problems because there will be recurring problems.
I have a feeling that, I'm just remembering yesterday's cast now, which I should have done beforehand, but I had a moment to get it down. I think he has Starfall in his deck as well.
Oh, really?
So he may have a little better matchup than we think against the Paladin. That might be a misremember, it may be someone else, but I think he's got Starfall in his deck. That would also explain more the Thalnos as well.
Oh, look at that. He actually picked up 2 refs and a swipe. So this turn is actually nuts for Liveon because he's able to kill every single Murloc, and there's no Gateway Kodo that was played this turn. So Tyler is left without a board.
Exactly the pickup you said he needed. He needs to keep these things off the board because of the Towering, because of the Spite Steed. And now the Murloc synergy's gone. Suddenly War Lead is just a 3-3 for 3, and it's a bit of a sad case.
Yeah, but with the Gateway Kodo, he's able to play it and secure some value out of it, right? So because it will eat either tempo, so in this case would be probably like a hero power and something on top of it. So Airframe Scale, as an example, would be a choice, right, for Liveon if you wouldn't have the ref. In this case, it will just eat a ref, which is a small tempo gain for Tyler because it's 2 mana for 1 mana. But at the same time, he will need to replay the War Leader later on.
Right, so even though it's a gain sort of, it's also cost you the 3 again later. The other thing to notice here is that Liveon's drawn nearly all of his early game at the start, and the obvious opposite side to that is he's now likely to start drawing into his big drops. Now he can play them, which if he does draw into an Aya or a Jade Behemoth, this could start getting interesting, whereas normally it's pretty good for the Paladin.
Yep. Still, Tyler kept the coin. So I think most likely because he wanted to keep the coin for the Spikered Steed because it's a huge play against any Druid player. You get to use the hero power. In example, of course, if you're not running anything else in your hand that is low cost, and get that huge pile of stats as soon as possible because Druid has a hard time dealing the damage.
Yeah. I'm just quickly going to go back to the thing I was wrapping up when we went into game about Liveon. He was a bit nervous the other day, you were asking me about that, mainly because this is his chance to shine properly, and he is a guy that is known to people who play Hearthstone, but not to people who watch Hearthstone so much. So he is looking for the breakout, that's why he's getting a bit nervous. He wants that breakout, he does cast things, he does stream. I believe he plays other games as well. And he's also the player manager at Get Gaming, which is Theo's team.
Okay.
From Holland, from the Netherlands.
Well, I mean, this is a derby, right? Tyler, Netherlands, Liveon, Netherlands.
Yeah.
So it's quite a derby right now here at DreamHack Valencia.
And Tyler's been playing on the same team as Theo in the team for the nation. So, all those links into this is doing really well here. Now, Theo's also on the same score as these guys, just by the way. So he's also in with a chance of making that top 16.
I really like the aggressiveness by Tyler here. He recognizes that trading with those minions doesn't really change much because most likely they'll have to attack into himself anyway to make a difference. It's a good decision by Tyler to put some pressure on. It will be hard to keep like, you know, keep up with the Jades now.
Yes.
Once the IO was played.
Just getting to that tipping point now where the Jades start to just get bigger than any Murloc or Tyrion you can play. Not quite there, but in a turn or two's time it will be. So Tyler taking one of his last chances to get some easy face damage, and then he's got to find a way to chip through with a weapon, maybe a board clear with a Deathwing, just to get those last pieces through later on.
Fortunately for him, usually it would be tough, but with that Vine Cleaver and the Taren in his hand, he's able to secure board position once again. And after maybe even 2 attacks of that Vine Cleaver, because of the fact that Liveon did use one swipe already. Well, of course, Liveon has a second one in his hand, but probably will be played proactively to play around the Taren, play around additional buffs from like Blessing of Kings, second Spyfoot Steed, and so on.
Now, Druid often plays Gluttonous Ooze, but if I'm right about the Starfall, it may be that this version doesn't. You've got to drop something, you put in a tech card, you have to swap it for a tech card somewhere else. And with Mage being banned, maybe that Gluttonous Ooze went out because it's primarily to deal with Medivh weapons. It's good to deal with pirate weapons as well, but... So maybe he went for that tech card instead of the Ooze, if I remembered correctly.
Well, that is quite some chain. Look at that. Innervate Wild Growth into access mana. And now he has access to 6 points of mana with cheap spells. And this will be an incredible thing to do right now. Jade Idol, he actually did get all those important cards anyway. He has access to Jade Spirits and Jade Behemoths in his hand, so he doesn't really need much more to win the game. What he needs is to survive a potential blowout from the Paladin.
And talking of potential blowouts, one of the things that can help do that is this Finger. If Tyler can maybe have a wave of attacks with 3/3s, he will want to save that for bigger Jades, but maybe he can put pressure on and then get the Finger down for an extra wave. Maybe that's the way. Or the other way, you get the Finger down, turn everything into 3/3s and Finger it up.
That's an option, but I think this is the moment for Tyler to just make a statement and put the time down with as many minions as possible, since he can kill the Auctioneer. In my opinion, the Fandral doesn't really bear much importance anymore, like in this case.
I agree,
Feral Rage,
damage is done.
the damage is done. You don't really care about the... I mean, the armor would have been played anyway. So I would rather kill the Auctioneer than the Fandral, unless he trades one of the 3/3s into the Auctioneer. But what I would like to do more is just to leave 2 minions up, in this case Fandral and the Jade Golem, and just go face.
He's kind of split the difference. He basically did your play, but he did decide the Fandral might be too bad if there's a Nourish, for instance. So he took care of that as well.
He played one already, one of the Nourishes. There's 3 more Jade Idols in the deck. With this kind of draw, if he gets more Jade Idols into the deck, then there are less chances of drawing Earthen Scales and Feral Rages. I would be fine with that.
Yeah, I'm with you, I think, on that one, but I do understand, you know, if he's done the numbers, maybe he feels that 3 more damage wasn't necessarily huge, as long as it fits into the Deathwing pattern for later, for the final 12. Maybe he feels he can get Liveon down to 12 sooner.
Ooh, that's actually pretty neat. That is actually pretty neat, because now he's able to get more synergy on the board, and he had seen removal already from the Druid. Both swipes were played, both Wraths were played, Falnozo was being played, not a single Primordial Drake yet, so he needs to be aware of what's going to happen next turn, because there's, like, how many cards were drawn?
And last turn was weird, right? That swipe was just saying, hey, I'm going to play the Drake next turn. So Tyler needs to be aware to that, and I think he will be.
Because of the fact that Liveon couldn't save us Innervate for the swipe and the Primordial Drake at the same time, he needs to set it up turn by turn, like back to back. And that means he needs to telegraph it. Tyler needs to play around it, most likely, or recognize that he has enough pressure to finish up the game after the Primordial Drake. So what are his options? He can actually just play stealth minions, go face, and next turn, after he attacks with the Finja, maybe just play, you know, his Deathwing. Maybe that's one of the options.
Yeah, he's just playing around the Primordial Drake. These trades are playing around it because the Primordial Drake will kill 1 minion instead of however many it was going to be, like 5. And so getting the use out of them before they get wiped out and developing a board that's much smaller but much tougher to deal with.
Yep, that is true. The Primordial Drake doesn't make much of a difference right now. Of course, it can help with clearing. Oh my God. It's gonna help with the situation with the Wall Eater,
right,
because it can be paired up with the hero power. But at the same time, is it enough to ensure that you can win the game later on? And I agree what he does right now.
Yep. Just want to keep back 1 taunt as well. So he hesitated over both taunts for a minute there because he knows that Deathwing's a thing in the deck. Almost certainly. It's when you see that Vine Cleaver. And if your opponent can get you down to 12 and you've got no taunt, you basically lose the game. Although no more healing in hand is really a problem here for Liveon.
So we didn't see a single Pharaoh Rage yet,
no,
but we have seen 2 Elephant Scales. That gives some information for Tyler of what it can do. Depends on the pulls right now from this. It's gonna be an interesting turn. Like, he's high on HP, so he's allowed to play it more slowly right now because he knows he can put some roadblocks, especially with that Wicker Flame right now, because it's very difficult to deal with for the Druid.
Yeah, it's not so much the fact that it has the life gain, it's just more the fact it's like 2 taunt minions for the price of 1. You've got to hit it twice, obviously. That eats up 2 mana where your opponent has to actually just hero power to hit it the first time, and just generally a pain in the backside.
And this means that most likely the Wicker Flame will be picked, although the Creeper, it's too much mana. Yeah, I like it. I like this a lot. So now the question is, do I put 8 damage to the opponent's face? Because I have Deathwing, and after Deathwing you can deal 4 damage to the face and create 2 minions, which is nice as well. And I like this what he does. He puts pressure on the board and some roadblocks.
Yes.
So Liveon is just in a really tough spot.
He is indeed in a difficult position here. He can hold on a little bit longer, but that Fincher is just going to be in the way. Can get blown up by Primordial Drake, so that makes the play a bit easier, I guess. But just not where you want to be. He's going to clear up quite a lot, actually, with this Drake, though. And, yeah, it might be okay. But he has no answer to Deathwing at the moment, as it stands.
Is there any answer to Deathwing apart from
you just play a taunt? Yeah, I mean, Jade Behemoth is the answer because it puts you a massive minion on the board, and the Deathwing has to deal with that taunt while you're killing them. But I think he's played both Jade Behemoths in this game.
Oh, Tyler, again with an uncomfortable draw because the Stonehill Defender is one of those cards that can give you Terrans or Tyrion, but the Tyrion would be like the most important draw right now to just push through with the Vine Cleaver.
Right.
So I don't blame him for picking up the Stonehill Defender right now instead of the Deathwing. It's a little bit RNG involved, but still, it will be a blowout draw from the Defender.
What he can do here is he can play this Protector if he takes it, and force Liveon to put more stuff on the board into this Deathwing. So he plays this, don't do a whole lot, maybe even just pass turn, and then your opponent has to put more things on the board because you're threatening too much. And then when he maybe overextends, if you can make him do that, then you Deathwing away a whole load of massive Jades and say, you've just messed up, you've got too much on the board. So see how Liveon will be aware. He knows that Tyler's probably got Deathwing in hand by now, the way it's been played. Or he'll at least be scared of it. Let's see how he tries to develop his board and still keep some way of dealing with Deathwing back, if there is such a thing.
I mean, Tyler didn't pick up a single Megazord yet.
No.
And what is even more important, if he has 3 draws, 2 Megazords and the Curator, because of the fact that he still has the coin, he can play the Curator and the Megazord on top of that. So both of those Murlocs can actually get poisonous and attack into those minions next turn.
Oh my goodness, Lothar, look at this. He's only played the 1 Jade Spirit. He is onto this plan that Tyler is setting of making him overextend. Would have been, most people there would dump out both Jades because you know they haven't got equality consecration. You know all that, and you can put a big board down.
To be fair, like even if that happens, he has Auctioneer with 2 Jade Idols in his hand.
Right. He's just playing it super safe, but I don't mind it.
Oh, here we go. There's the Deathwing. And now, how much damage does that set up for next turn? It's only 14.
Right. And Liveon's going to be able to put down a lot of damage of his own here. And he may be tempted. Let's see what he picks up first. Okay, the Nourish is kind of a whiff.
Yeah.
I wonder if he just puts down the Auctioneer and the Jade and passes turn rather than going through this. I think he cycles these because they're just bigger, right? Yeah, that's silly. You just cycle these. Try and draw into that Feral if you have it. And there is that Starfall I was talking about.
Which is not important anymore.
It's not, but it may mean there's only one Feral Rage in his deck.
Oh, look at that. A 1-mana almost Deathwing.
A 1-mana almost Deathwing. That's better than a real Deathwing when you've got a handful of cards that do damage.
So this is how much damage? 21, 25.
Yeah, it is lethal damage on board. Isn't it?
Am I dumb? It's 22 for Tyler, right?
Yeah, Tyler just... Yeah, he's just conceded there.
Yeah.
I think he realised that he was dead a little bit too late. He knew he was going to lose anyway. That's the thing there.
He needed Tyrion right now.
Yeah. He knew he was going to lose, which is why that mistake happened. And Liveon find a way there. All the way he looked like he was behind, but he tiptoed around that Deathwing. He kept back the Auctioneer turn so he could produce those cheap 1-mana Deathwings of his own. Nice work.
From Tyler, though, I feel like he had good setup and he recognized some turns when he could have gone like the aggressive route and he dealt the damage, like with the Spikeridge Seed, with the Tarim. But at the same time, maybe it was worth it to be even more aggressive because he was lacking some damage at the end, right? I have to say the Stunhunt Defenders drops weren't the best. Like if you could have picked just one more Tarim, it was probably GG. Because that Vine Cleaver was just waiting for that second Tarim.
Yeah, it wasn't a great selection he got there. The Grime Street Protector's kind of the one you take when you've missed. It's like the 4th legendary, but it's nowhere near as good as the other 3. Yep. It's not a real legendary. That would be kind of bad.
All right.
All right, Liveon just this time is going about his business of putting stuff on board because this is a bad matchup for the Druid. Even if you get control of this board, it sometimes just goes against you again because of the combo that's in the Token and Shaman. And we can see the Doppelgangsters there, so this is full-on Evolved Shaman as you would normally expect it to be.
Yeah. And it will be pretty rough for Liveon to just go through it. Like the Primal Fin Totem without a Wrath, Spyro is so fast out of control. And this time he doesn't have like the swipe in hand already. So with 2 of those, let's say high important board objectives on the board from Tyler, Liveon will face some problems.
Yeah, let's remember though that Liveon chose this Jade Druid because it's kind of his bad deck in this matchup. It's the deck he expected to lose with, so he wanted to start the counter chain going. He's just got to win against the Paladin with this. So even though this looks like a bad game for him, even though it's going to be 1-1, he's kind of ahead because he's won a counter game already. You know, he's going to be in the driver's seat as he goes into game 3, just because his Druid was kind of his lame duck anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
But this one's not over yet, but when Shaman gets Bloodlust, Doppelgangster, Evolve, and Flame Tongue Totem, not alone to mention the 2 you just pointed out, not many things beat it, let alone Jade Druid that has no removal, unless he can maybe get a Starfall off. But even that, what does it really do, except that Thanos helps? That's like turn 8.
Yeah, I mean...
Where's turn 8 coming from?
You can just look at this turn, what just happened. There was an innovated Aya, and it was dealt with such an ease.
Yes.
It was just like breezing through the entire board and still developing things on it. Kind of crazy when you think about it. And now with the Barns even, like, this is even crazier. Tyler can just allow himself to trade up again and just play Barns.
Barnes, a recent addition to this deck. I think a couple of people, RDU, and did Hoy take it as well? RDU definitely did.
I don't think Hoy was playing it.
Okay.
And he got an Aya as well. Not bad for a, for a 4-drop. I still remember when Barnes was introduced to the game and people were saying, such a bad minion.
Right.
Like, what? This has stats. Like, it's a little bit worse in some scenarios than a Yeti, but this is like the worst case scenario.
I've even seen it.
Of course, it has to be a deck that is tailored to benefit from it the most, but it's such a high risk, high reward card, right?
I've even seen it once in Silent Priest in a cast.
Yeah, because you can silence it and then just get a free 8 minion for 0 mana investment, right?
And it's silenced both ways, so it loses it gets the stats back to 4/8, and it loses the fact it can't attack.
Yeah, it's pretty
completely silly. I'm not sure whether it's the strongest like synergy ever, but you see it in all sorts of decks people try it in.
I loved it in Wild.
I can imagine.
With Goya.
Does that work well? I think that Goya's a card waiting to happen.
You know, it was just Goya, Barnes, and a lot of high-value minions, but most of the time you just got Goya out of Barnes, or Barnes, or Goya into Barnes, which is kind of sad. So.
And if you're wondering why we're talking about Goya into Barnes in Wild, it's because Tyler is just busy polishing off this game in, I think after we saw like turn 2, or as soon as we saw that Aya dealt with, we knew what was happening in this one.
He was in a commanding position to just seal the game in few turns. Like, it's a normal sight for this matchup, because the Shaman is designed to just prey on such deck like a Jade Druid. It's just too slow, unless you have innovate something that is really powerful, and we have actually seen it this way, this matchup as well. But it doesn't really keep up with amount of 3 minions that suddenly have 3 attack. They're worth 3 mana when you think about it, right? Or 2.
Yeah.
But like the amount of tempo that Shaman is just gaining by ridiculous synergy with the Murlocs and the Flametongue Totem just keeps him in the game without losing any card advantage, and still building up the board for the final Bloodlust.
And this is what I was talking about a minute ago, about who's got the counter advantage. Now Liveon just gets to queue the Mage, which is a fantastic matchup against the Shaman, straight in there.
But I'm not sure which deck is the Druid from Tyler?
No, I'm not sure. I don't think we've seen Tyler on stream yet. And we do know that Liveon's Paladin is a Murloc Paladin, but that doesn't tell you anything. I can't. That was just he played some Murlocs. That could be anything at all, really. What great notes I've got.
It's true.
We do know there's a very good chance this is a Gunther Mage because of that ooze in hand. And picking up the portal also suggests that. Tyler is a Flametongue Totem away from having a fantastic hand again here. He has the combo on turn 6 ready to go, but he doesn't really have any way to force Liveon to burn his removal before he gets to turn 6, which means that the combo might not stick. But if he gets a Flametongue and starts actually putting real pressure into the Mage's face, and he's actually going to use his other evolve now, 2 drops are kind of bad, but it's not too terrible. The 2-drop stats, if you do the maths, look like they're quite good.
Yeah, but they're not really that great.
They're skewed by Doomsayers and 0-7. That's a lot of stats.
Yeah.
It's not a card you want. I mean, Dirty Rats are 2-6. That is a card you want, but...
There's also Cornered Sentry.
Yes.
That's about it.
But because of that, the average is high, but there's a lot of actual just... The sort of minions you just saw, 1-1s and 2-2s, and you're more likely to get those because the average is just pushed up by those massive luck box rolls.
Yeah.
The actual cards you're likely to get are just nothing like that.
Well, this is still a lot of pressure coming out of Tyler, and Liveon needs to find an answer. Without that Doomsayer draw, it's not really looking that great. Even if he kills the Flametongue Totem, it's still like kind of locked, right?
Yeah, and this is the card he needed, the Flametongue really helping out, because what I was talking about, now he can just keep the combo back whilst this lot absorbs all the damage, and then plop, the combo comes out and you're in a great spot. Unless Liveon draws Alex Straza and can survive a turn or 2 afterwards, because he already has lots of fireballs ready to kill the face.
Keep the evolve. Tyler, keep the evolve.
Yeah, you don't need more than this, right? It's not much, but it's plenty.
I mean, you're playing in the turn 5. Liveon most likely doesn't have the combo yet with the Doomsayer, but he might keep one piece of it and just top deck it, right? So playing the evolve right now would be really rough.
One thing it does do is plays around Counterspell if you played it quickly, because you don't have many things apart from Devolve and Jade Lightning usually, maybe a Bloodlust to get rid of the Counterspell with, so your evolve can be awkward to play later on.
That's true, but at the same time, when you have seen Ice Barrier, there's most likely not a counterspell in the deck. Well, he can basically get more hero powers, but his board is full.
So now it's
and he doesn't have spells, actually, so never mind. The Greedo.
Do you Frost over here, or do you let the block go and play another one next turn with Doomsayer? You have to clear it. Yeah.
You have to stop the bleeding.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just can't do it.
Evolve. Is it a useful card in this matchup? I mean, probably you should just use it on the Acolyte.
I think you do.
Right?
So you know he hasn't got Doomsayer in hand.
Exactly,
because
you
would have
don't
played
need
it.
to keep it, right?
You want to stop him drawing that Doomsayer. You want him to stop him drawing more freeze.
It would have been kind of ridiculous if he would have played it into a Doomsayer right now from the Acolyte of Pain. So it's like, well, I know you don't have a Doomsayer, so I'll just give you one.
That would have actually been amusing, to be fair. But no, that play, getting rid of the potential catch-up. He knows that Liveon is in trouble, so he is getting rid of that card draw. And Liveon now, not much he can do. He has to have a think about whether he wants to start using his fireballs on minions, but that gets rid of your win condition. Your only win condition is to sneak it with an Alexstrasza and a block somehow, and that doesn't seem to be happening.
Yeah, the draw is pretty dry. Double fireballs needed just to be played on minions that are worth less than 3 mana. When you think about it, it's a tempo loss and not really achieve much anyways.
Yeah, just achieving, getting rid of the ways you win the game. You have to do it. You have to not die. That's kind of how it works. But,
yeah,
but if you're a Tyler fan, you do like to see that.
I mean, if you would have to explain someone how Hearthstone works, it's just like you hit them till they explode.
Yep, that's pretty much how it goes. Deceptively simple, but it's insanely fun.
Deceptively simple.
Bit like me.
All right, here we go. There's the Doomsayer, but there's no freeze effect. One Jade Lightning was played, and it is something that might be perceived as maybe a decision that could have been gone differently, because at some point Mage can just stop the onslaught of the minions, and you could have used the weapons, or the weapons get destroyed, and then you lack an immediate answer to the ice block.
Right.
Which you cannot use because you have a full board, you don't have a charge minion, and then the Jade Lightning comes to rescue, right?
Yes.
But after Tyler did use it actually as a measure to just kill a minion, he might be lacking this. Although he's in a commanding lead, so it might not bite him back. But let's imagine now the Frost Nova is getting played, right? And the Doomsayer just clears the board. I think there's still patches for Tyler, so that's a saving grace.
Yeah, but he hasn't got much, you're right. Maybe have one more weapon as well, but
yeah, but
you don't have much burst to deal with these things. As it happens, it's just not going to matter most likely. But it's why minion-based decks tend to struggle against freeze types of mage. And he's got that for later now. In his back pocket, just in case something crazy happens with glyphs and God knows what else.
Yeah, I don't know what's funny. The fact that he has patches in his hand is probably even better, because if he has like 6 minions on board, he can still play it.
Right. Yeah, just making sure. And those Doomsayers are way too late, and I said that he queued this up because he had an advantage in the counter war. He's lost that match, and now Tyler is a solid favourite for this one.
Well, now we have to see which kind of druid is Tyler playing. If he is on Jade Druid, it spells problems for
Liveon. But first he's got to get through the Shaman, and he's just lost his counter matchup, so now he's going to have to play his Murloc Paladin. I can't remember how Murloc-y it is, but if I've written the word Murloc next to it, it's quite Murloc-y. Assuming that I wasn't completely crazy.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm sort of crazy, but that doesn't look that Murloc-y at all.
There's a Wicked Flame. That's an indicator of most likely not that Murloc-y, but then now we can see Hunter. I mean, Hunter is such a powerful Murloc on its own. You don't need to play 6 1-drops to make it work, basically. But it, of course, benefits. The biggest benefits are coming from it when you have 6 1-drops.
6 is a good number for getting one on turn 1, I assume?
Yeah.
That kind of the number you want? I know that when you're playing, like, Dragon, old school Dragon Priest, and you had to get a Dragon, which could be a bit later, not turn 1, sort of 7 was the magic number, so 6 does make a lot of sense to me. Like 7.5 was the magic number. People used to argue whether it was 7 or 8 dragons you had to put in those. Okay. Liveon's kind of good to go, but he's got to delay it all a couple of turns, and then next turn he starts to get the good stuff going. The Shaman deck just gets the good stuff going so quickly.
The double devolve is a brick for now. Although it's very powerful, later on when there's a Spikered Steed being played or the Blessing of Kings, all depends what kind of course, Paladin is Liveon playing. But it is one of those crucial cards late in the game. Now, though, Tyler needs to have a swing on the board.
Right.
And he couldn't develop it much, but at the same time now, I still think it's most likely... Oh, he goes for the devolve, okay.
Just going at it. Getting what he wanted out of it. So, because he's got the spell damage totem and it wasn't going to last long, almost any devolve there was a clear. You know, you don't get many. There are 3 health minions, but there's so few of them that was a very good chance there.
Seems like a consecration, right? What do you think about it? I mean, the other option is to play just the Murloc and the weapon. Kill...
I think with your hand being so bad, maybe you just load up the weapon and then maybe even just pass turn.
With the hero power, you mean? Sorry.
Yeah, with the Murloc.
Yeah.
Maybe even pass turn. He's going to hide the consecration by attacking. If you don't attack, it telegraphs your hand, I guess, way too much. So this is trying to get Tyler to overextend.
But overextended with the hero power is not really that big of a deal.
Right, it's not.
So it's 4 minions. Bloodlust can be actually played next turn, which is 12 damage. It's quite a lot.
It's ridiculous.
It's not game ending yet because Liveon is high on health, but he can't develop anything.
I think we might see him hero power this turn, and the reason I think that is that on turn 7 he wants to play the Curator, and it's obvious what he wants to do from there. The numbers are on the cards; they're the turn numbers. So next turn he has nothing to do, so he can hero power and consecration, use his weapon to take down anything that survives the consecration, and clear the way for that Curator turn. Make Tyler rebuild the board going into Liveon's Curator turn.
Makes sense.
And coincidentally or happily, you get that extra 1 Murloc out of it as well. So yeah, this is what he's going to do. And now the numbers are on the cards, as I said, 7, 8, 10. That's how you count, right?
This kind of reminds me of, you know, some certain Paladin deck that was playing on Curve. Turn 1 Zombie Cho, turn 2 a bot, mini bot, turn 3 Master, turn 4 Alderman, turn 5 Belcher.
Yeah, I know who you are.
Mysterious personality played with.
I know who you are, Lothar.
Yes, turn 7 Doctor. Boom, turn 8 Tyrion, turn 9. What was turn 9?
Bottom right.
Oh, yeah, right.
Bottom right for the opponent. Or throw your laptop in the swimming pool or something.
Where's the evolve when you need one? Because there's a doppelgangster.
He used it, didn't he? Was that this game?
The evolve?
Yeah,
No,
that was last
devolve.
game. Oh, the devolve.
He used the devolve, but he didn't get a evolve yet.
I mean, you can't have everything. He has had pretty good hands with this so far. Yeah, that was previous game, excuse me. So, putting them out there anyway. But the Curator will fetch Primordial Drake, so Tyler needs that evolve right now, or these are going to get blown up next turn.
I'm kind of surprised they actually played the doppelgangster, when I think about it.
It didn't fetch Primordial Drake.
Oh my god, never mind. Well, you know, they can attack for 6 damage now, so that's the benefit of playing them last turn.
Well, the benefit is you draw evolve. It's fine.
It's kind of sick.
But that looks like a scouting move. He knew there was no Primordial Drake, so it was fine. He's seen a consecration.
Those stats are not that impressive.
They're really not, but the Auctioneer is with 2 cards in hand that are spells.
But he just he just changed a 2-mana golem into a mana tide totem. What?
I mean, he's got to be careful. He might just draw his whole deck here next turn.
Wow, the Tyrion into a devolve. Tyler is just... I would say that he's jumping from joy, but of course he didn't move at all. But now this is sick. How much damage is that? That's 4, 8, 12, 16. 16 and 4, that's 20.
That's more than 18, Lothar, or 19. That is going to be Tyler through. He's got enough mana, right? We're not chat lethaling this.
Yep.
He's got all the mana he needs. He sees it.
That's end of the game. Tyler, with that evolve draw after the doppelgangster, was actually able to deal the 6 damage that turn, finishes up the game and after the Tyrion.
You weren't even impressed with those stats. What's wrong?
Yeah, I mean, you know.
You just wanted to explode more.
The stats were not impressive, but the fact that he did draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Because Manatee taught him Auctioneer, that allowed him to get the Flaming Totem, finish up the game, and also the second Devolve was a nail in the coffin for the Tyrion, right? So yikes.
Bit heartbreaking for Liveon. I think he was 5-0 at one point in this tournament. Now he's 5-3. That's going to be a tough one to swallow. But Tyler's been there. He's been 4-0, 5-0, I think, in 2 HCTs and fallen away. So this time he's got a great chance of going the other way and sneaking into that top 16 and maybe getting those points he needs to go towards the last call, as well as a chunk of $25,000. That's all right.
Yeah, that's nothing to scoff on, right?
So,
I mean, I'm pretty happy for Tyler because he was talking so much about the race for points, right? And so many occasions, like he was explaining how much matters it to him, like the time. It's a time-consuming practice, let's say like that, and he invested everything into it. I mean, he actually quit his job as a fashion photographer to go into Hearthstone as a full-time job, and this is why he's sacrificing so much time. Like, he made a commitment, and he's sticking to it, and it's pretty cool to see such a passionate people in our industry and in our games. So, yeah.
And if you talk to anyone out there, they just talk about this race between Sintalon and Tyler. There are other people in it, but they're the 2 main ones. But then we've got another match for you.